Welcome back, everyone, to the Late Night Review. And tonight I want to talk about a movie that the rewatchability of this movie for me is just off the charts. It's The Omega Man with Charlton Heston. This is a movie I've always loved. I really like it. I like the way it's done. I like the story, the way it's shot. Charlton Heston plays Robert Neville, a scientist who helped create an experimental vaccine because there was an apocalyptic world war using biological warfare, and most of the population on Earth has been wiped out by this biological agent. It created a plague, so they made an experimental vaccine. And Charlton Heston was the only one to take the vaccine. It was just an experimental batch. And when he got the plague, he injected himself with this experimental vaccine, and he was the only survivor. So that's how he survived. Everyone else has been wiped out except for some people, but they all have the plague and they're on the road to eventually getting sick and dying. There's an occultic group called the Family, and they have the plague and they're dying and they're far along, but they want to kill Charlton Heston's character, Robert Neville, because they look at him as a symbol of what they think actually destroyed them. I mean, he helped create the vaccine, so he's a good guy. But the way, in their twisted thinking, they think that he is the enemy. He is a scientist, so they blame science basically for destroying the world, because through science you create biological warfare. And so that's their whole point. And I mean, you can understand why people would be thinking, okay, science led to this. But science is great, science is good. It can be misused. It can be used for evil or good. And the biological weapons that they created really wiped out mankind, and except for a few people, including this occultic family. And the leader of the cult is Anthony Zerbe. He plays Matthias. Matthias is his character in this movie. And Anthony Zerbe is a good actor. He's been in various films. He was in See No Evil, Hear No Evil with Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor. He's played on TV shows. There's an old TV show he was on. I think he was a policeman or police captain or commissioner. I believe it was called Harry O. And they investigated crimes and everything. And he's been in many, many different roles you've probably seen him in if you're into movies. He does a really good acting job in here. He plays a news anchor who gets the plague, and then he starts this occultic family that they join him, and they all have the plague, and they're trying to kill Charlton Heston's character because they look at him as the last symbol of science, and they want to get rid of anything scientific or anything that is modern. So that's what they want to do, and he does the part really convincingly. He's a really good actor, and the family's convincing as these dark, scary, nocturnal people who come out at night to basically they'll come after Robert Neville, Charlton Heston's character. But Charlton Heston does a great job in here. I always love the Omega Man. He is in an apartment, and he's fortified. He has plenty of weaponry. He's kind of a prisoner in his own apartment. He has to watch out for this group that are trying to kill him and get him out of there. And he fights them. And he's the only one on Earth that's immune to the plague that has decimated the planet. And the story is pretty large scale and massive. You can't get much more massive than that. I really like the story, and I like the cinematography. I like the action in here. This is one movie that I can rewatch over and over again, and I don't seem to get tired of it. I like the way the city looks during the day and at night. I really like the city at night too. A lot of my art, my paintings, I do buildings at night, if you've seen my art. But yeah, this movie is really a fun movie to me. If you haven't seen it, I would definitely recommend it, especially if you like science fiction, action, drama. And Charlton Heston is really a great actor. In fact, I like a lot of his movies. He was in classics like The Big Country, him and Gregory Peck. The Ten Commandments, I always loved the Ten Commandments with him and the Great Yul Brynner. And I've always liked him in the Planet of the Apes. And actually, I like Beneath the Planet of the Apes. And this is kind of going to put me in the minority, I think. But sometimes I like the Beneath the Planet of the Apes movie better than the original. The original is the better film. I think it's a better movie. But the second one entertains me more because those people living underground with the mental abilities, and they communicate with telepathy. They can cause things to happen just by thinking about it. They can influence people to behave in a way that they want. They can make people do things just through the power of their minds. And I think that was really a good movie. But back to the Omega Man, this is good action. I like how the cinematography is and how it captures the buildings in certain scenes, and you have the sun coming through the buildings in certain parts of the movie, a few parts of the movie. I like the characters in here. I like the people that Charlton Heston meets. I think the villains in here are really convincing. Anthony Zerbe, again, he's the head of the cultic family cult called the Family. Uh, in this uh, in this movie, they're really convincing. They have these all black robes on with hoods and kind of like Grim Reaper type looking outfits, and they all have the plague, and they want to destroy all technology. And Charlton Heston represents that to them, so he's the enemy. They won't listen to reason. He can't really reason with them, so the only thing he can do is exterminate them. And it's got action. It's a pretty good pace. It's not a slow movie, in my opinion. I mean, you might nitpick where there's maybe certain segments of the movie that are a little slow, but I really don't think so. I think it has a really good, solid pace. I like the vibes in here. I like the music. I really like the idea of him being a loner, and he's going through the city, but he's trying to keep his sanity because he is lonely. And there's a statue of Julius Caesar. I believe it's Julius Caesar that he plays chess with. He talks to the statue and he plays chess with him, just to kind of keep himself occupied, so he keeps his sanity because he's always alone until he meets people, and then he falls in love with a woman. And it's a fun story too, and it's a drama. It's interesting. I really like this film. And if you like action movies, and even if you don't like science fiction movies, I think you'll like this. If you like action, if you're a Charlton Heston fan, I think you'll like this movie. And this is my favorite Charlton Heston movie. I like his other movies. I really like The Ten Commandments. I like the Planet of the Apes. I like Beneath the Planet of the Apes. I like the Big Country with him and Gregory Peck. And but this is my favorite movie of his. It's just, I can watch this anytime. The action, the music, the outfits, his equipment that he has, and the way he's held up in his apartment with all his weapons, and how he lives up there, and he's watching the family's burning books. They burn books, and then they have this catapult that they try to burn his apartment down with. They put fire on it and release it. And Anthony Zerbe's character says, "Nothing cleanses quite like fire, my children." And the way he acts in there is really interesting, and he's believable as that character and convincing. So yeah, this movie seems to have it all to me. It's a classic. I really enjoy it and always had a good time with it. I highly recommend it. And if you haven't seen, a lot of people have seen it, but I think there's actually a lot of people who haven't. I haven't heard it really talked about or seen it talked about in recent years. I'm guessing mostly younger generations haven't seen it. If you haven't, check it out. I think it's worth watching. I highly recommend it. And this has been the Late Night Review. And like and subscribe, share this video, and take care, everybody. Enjoy that movie and have a good night.